Hey, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. Excuse me. Hey, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. Whoa, that went a little fast. This is the instructional video for the kit that was the Square Lucky watercolory sign. It included the roll of green mesh. It included a bundle of little clovers, so stinking cute. And of course, our bow looks like this. Some of them are a lot the same, but this one is a little different. It has the glittered shamrocks, the buffalo plaid, and the colorful shamrocks. Okay, so this is the instructional video for that kit. Now, if you're looking for cutting instructions, there is a specific video here on our YouTube that is just for cutting. It was actually an Easter kit that I was cutting, but it was a very general, would apply to this kit as well. So please make sure you're consuming that video. There's a lot of tips on cutting the mesh, what we do and how we do it, and tips to keep it from fraying, how we cut the ribbon. You don't want to cut yourself short, especially if you purchase this kit and you're trying to duplicate our design. So make sure you've consumed that video and watched it. And let us know if you have any questions, because I'll reference back to it in this video. Okay, so we have our sign. It's already prepped. Again, we talked about that in that instructional video also. We're going to be using our 14-inch frame for this project. Don't forget, it is in order for shipping, it is kind of tacked together on purpose so that it ships nicely. So you know, just make sure you're poking those through, number one. Number two, the 10-inch frame and the first 6 pieces of 20-inch mesh. Reference that cutting video. This is going to go together for another project. I'm going to set that aside for a later date. So I have this extra, I have this extra, and then everything else we're going to use to make the kit. Okay, so that's that. And then okay, so that's that. All right, so we're going to add our pipe cleaners first. I am not 100% positive, but I think it was green pipe cleaners for this kit. So I'm just going to start with green. I'm going to set this aside. There we go. Okay, we're all good. So the mesh is cut. Everything's ready to go. Let me move these out of the way. Goodness gracious, lots of stuff. Okay. Adding our pipe cleaners to our sign to start with, or to our frame to start with. Again, we're going to use the patent pending pancake wreath frame. The hole in the notch line up, and you're going to make sure you're crisscrossing your pipe cleaner closest to the notch. Now, it doesn't make any difference right now, but when you're adding those layers in, it will help to separate the layers and give you a nice finished look. So it seems like a small detail, I know, but it is actually very helpful in the end when we add both layers. So we have 6 twist ties on the inside and 6 twist ties on the outside, and that will form a tiered look at the end. And it's nice to have a little bit extra separation. So that distance between these two will help that layer to, you know, really show off. Okay, so I don't have to think about where I'm putting in our pipe cleaners. The frame does all the work for me. A nice budget-friendly frame here. The 12 twist ties has a lot of meaning, a lot of reason, a lot of thought went into 12. You know, from even the very, very beginning of my wreath making until now, it still holds true. So I've started with 12 twist ties, and I'll stick with that just to make, again, the frame, the base, really budget friendly. So, and you know, I make the pancake frame, the pancake wreath on this frame as the most common. However, I've made some pretty big designs on this frame as well. So just keep in mind as you're watching this that the only thing to make on this frame is not the pancake wreath. This is just one of the many things. Okay, I've already pre-cut the mesh to help this go a little bit quicker. So we're going to start with our 10-inch, or it's 10 inches wide, 20 inches long. Okay, I've 10 inches wide. I've cut them 20 inches long. So I'm just going to ruffle right up the center. Ruffle, ruffle, ruffle right up the center. This was a kit. If you're just watching this and interested in learning how to do it, this was a kit. So it did come, all the pieces came together easily for our folks to assemble. I'll put that right in there, nice and tight. Crisscross, twist, twist, and overlap those ends. So this is the pancake method. I'm ruffling, taking those ruffles and layering them over each other, bringing those across and kind of flipping all those little ruffles under to make the end product, this end ruffle, round, mostly round, but flat like a pancake. Okay, so I created it so that folks here in Michigan, I was hosting classes a lot, and folks here in Michigan were looking for, you know, something thinner to fit between their doors, because that's a normal thing. It's a normal habit here to fit things between your doors. And so I had to come up with a recipe that was a little bit different than what I was typically making. So just overlap then, and then I'm just very gently kind of tucking those in between our inside pipe cleaners, but making sure that they're ready for me. And this is fraying here, but I want to point out that even though it is fraying, we're going to do a really good job of hiding, concealing, and making sure that the fraying isn't something you see at the end. Again, go back to that instructional video where there was, I did talk about ways to help. There's 3 specific things that I said to help with the fraying. So make sure you're watching that video. It was a quick, it was 20 minutes, but it was a good video. So it's, if you're making wreaths, if you're cutting, if you're looking to get a lot of, you know, stretch your supply, that's a really good video to watch. Even if you didn't purchase the kit, just in general. All right, so we're going to keep going on this mesh here on the outside. This really nice mesh, high foil. Nice and thick. Nice and sturdy. So mesh is a kind of a funny thing. Mesh will take the place, take the shape of what you do with it. So like if I put this in a box that's smaller than the wreath to ship it or store it, let's say, when I take it out of the box next year, and even not even next year, a couple months, maybe not even a couple months in some cases. Anyway, when I take it out of the box, it's gonna keep the shape of a box, okay? But whatever the mesh is like pushed up against, or you know, it will take that shape. So keep that in mind when you're storing your wreaths. It's one of the reasons why I don't pre-make these and then just put them in, just because it'll, you know, if I lean it up against to something or set something on top of them, you know, it'll start to take that shape. So just be mindful of that. And really the inside here, it's okay that that kind of looks almost weirdly shaped. You won't see it. We're just going to use that as support for the next layer. And so, you know, it's okay that it kind of looks a little weird. And actually this, I did cut this, and if you watch the instructional video, you'll see how I referenced cutting and why I cut the way I do, how I cut the way I do, all the stuff. And I ended up with more on that roll left over. And I'm going to show you what's going on with this roll, because this roll was kind of a little bit short. So that'll be a nice learning for you also. Okay, with this kit came a cute little bunch of clover. It was 1 bush of clover. I had 1 left over because I only need 6, but they're pushable. So when you first get it, they all kind of look like this. It was a little bit longer. Okay, I did push them up to bunch them up just a little bit on purpose. All right, So just push those up, and then I had one left over, so I didn't want to let go of it, but I didn't want to forget. And then also in this reference, you may or may not, it's up to you, you may want to add a teensy tiny little bit of glue. You don't have to. I normally don't, but you may. So make sure your little glue gun make sure your glue gun is plugged in. Okay, the greenery is only gonna go on the top layer. It's not gonna go on the outside layer because we only had, well, we had 7 technically, but we're gonna use 6 of those pieces. So it's not gonna go on the outside layer. It's gonna look just adorable, but it's not gonna go in yet. What we are gonna do, let me move this out of the way. That's still drying and getting ready for me. What we are going to do is work on our outside ribbon. So I always do the outside layer first. My favorite goes on the top. Layer that, 14 inches long, dovetail the ends. Again, go back to that instructional video. It's just easier so that this video is about 20 minutes shorter, and then I can always reference back to that one video for all the kits. It's just easier that way. Some people have bought several kits, and it's easier for them to just watch the instructional. And so that, again, that cutting video is general, but it fits all of our kits. Okay, so we're taking our favorite first on the bottom or on the top, lining it so you can find that they're lined up, fold it to find the center, unfold, scrunch up nice and tight, kind of form it so it's all facing out towards you. Nothing goes in the center of this wreath. Twist, 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 about 7 or 8 times. And you notice I'm not cutting off that excess just yet. I will in just a moment. Trying to just save time, make sure I do that all at once. So I'm gonna use a wire cutter. I just stole it from my husband's toolbox. That's a true story, and it happens to be my favorite one. It's nice and little, fits in my hand, and it's easy to maneuver and work with, and I really like this particular one. But in order for me to save a teeny tiny little bit of time, I'm not picking it up 6 times and cutting off the excess pipe cleaner until I have all of the pieces on the outside done, and then I'll cut off all the excess, and then I'll spread those apart. So I'm going to pick up my wire cutter, cut all this excess off just because I don't need it. Now it blends obviously great with the green, so I could have left them if I really wanted to, but they just kind of get in the way sometimes. So alright, and then on the outside we're going to do something, again, small detail, really helps though, so I feel like it's worth mentioning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this down and push down, straight down, and then I'm going to pull this up and down apart and side to side apart, and then I pull this up and down apart, side to side apart. Okay, up and down, side to side, making sure that all those tails are coming straight out towards the edge. Now, what I didn't do, I didn't take the time, sometimes I do this behind the scenes, what I didn't do is I didn't take the time to, sometimes towards the inner of the roll of ribbon, the ribbon starts to get a little wrinkly kind of, and what I usually do is I take a hair straightener, gently, I test it a little bit just to make sure that it's going to be okay on that ribbon. I use a hair straightener, and then just almost you're just ironing it, right? I didn't do that, so I made sure that, because I didn't, I'm making sure that those specific pieces are ending up on the bottom layer, because you're going to see them the least, right? You're going to see that top layer the most, and so I just made sure that those were on the outside bottom layer. So there's always, something, a trick to be learned, to be had. Of course, I learned them from tricks from people also, but you find a way. The first couple times I was like, oh, I can't use this ribbon. It's just, I can't use it. It's gonna use, it's gonna go in the garbage. But you know, then you're wasting half your profit, and you certainly don't want to do that. So I was like, well, let's iron them, and I was actually ironing them for like with a for real iron, and then I don't know who or where I heard it, but someone said they use a straightener, and I was like, oh, that is so smart. Like, why have I not figured this out? I got the ironing board out, you know, I'd save a whole bunch of them so that I'd do them, you know, several at the same time, and I was just like, oh, this is just genius. And so, yeah, I do that sometimes. But all those little, you know, tips and tricks are great for making your skill, your design level, your skill, the time, go look your profit, of course, because now we're not wasting that, go a little bit quicker. Okay, I know this is going to be the boring part. A couple things. Number one, you can still see that frame, and I don't want you to see the frame. No one wants to see the frame more than I do. It is a patent pending frame based on my specific pancake wreath design, and so we teamed up to create an actual product with a patent, right? So we're excited about that, but no one wants to see that frame more than I do. However, I know your customer does not. So what we're going to do is add in our next layer. So again, 20 inches long, add in our next layer right in the top. I'm doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to scrunch up the top. Now, if you saw the instructional video, I don't know what made me do this, but I started cutting, so I cut these at 20 inches, and then I started cutting at 19. So these 6 pieces I actually cut at 19 inches. Sometimes the manufacturer cuts your mesh a little bit shorter. It's not, I mean, they don't do it on purpose. It's just how it ends up on the roll. Sometimes it's a little bit shorter, and in that case, it's fine. Just you're gonna make sure that that shortest piece ends up on the inside here, right? And you're gonna make sure that it ends up underneath the bow. Well, this was the perfect example. For whatever reason, I started cutting the last 6 pieces at 19 inches or 19 and a half. No, I can't remember. And the last piece ended up being, I don't know, I can't remember whether it was exactly short or whether it was folded, but we're going to see, we're going to do this together. And so I just left it, and then I was like, well, this is a really good learning piece to tell them, to teach them, so I'm going to make sure, I'm going to I just left it the way it was so we could do it together. Okay? So again, right up the center. I do want to say, I'm just going to say 20 inches long just because that is the typical recipe. And I just, for whatever reason, cut a little bit shorter this time. Now, if I was really short, okay, I would just not be able to get the 10 inch, because remember we took those first 6 pieces. Remember? We took those first 6 pieces and we were going to use those for the 10 inch frame. So if I was really short, I'd have to take a piece from there, right? And I would use that on the outside of the frame. But you would know that if you were cutting the whole thing ahead of time, which typically sometimes I cut the whole mesh, the whole roll, and sometimes I don't. I think I have been for the kits just to kind of really give you a visual and show you how how I'm going to get enough mesh out of that one roll for both the 14 inch and the 10 inch frame. So it's easier sometimes to actually see the visual. But then, I've just been setting them aside and using those pieces for the 10 inch frame without having to, open up like another roll of green just for that specific project, which has been really nice. I do also want to say, there's a video in here in YouTube there's a video in our YouTube channel for the 10 inch frame. There's a couple of videos for it. They have been selling. Not only have they been selling in the boutique where I sell, but they have been selling online. So that's really exciting for me, because at first, I don't know whether it was just You know, whether it was what I was putting in it or what, I don't know. But at first they weren't selling, and I thought, yeah, they sold a couple at the boutique, and that was good. And then, but they weren't selling really on Etsy. And then just recently, I just sold 4, I think, this particular week, which was really cool. So, you know, my design has evolved and all that kind of stuff. All right, so the last piece was exactly, well, a little bit over 19 inches, but look at what happened. I have to use that piece because it's so short without it. So I'm going to carefully take those off. Take off the piece here. What is it? Whatever. If I didn't use that ruffled piece, which I am actually not going to, it's only 16 inches. Okay? But all the other mesh in there, all of the other mesh is making me say or think it is going to be just fine to use one, not more than one, but one smaller piece. Okay? Because this would end up curling up. It wouldn't end up, I don't know what I'd end up doing, but I didn't want to use it. So I'm going to use this piece, and it's going to go right here. I'm just going to remember where that is so that I can put my bow on top, and no one will ever know. Right? No one will ever know. Okay? Except for this, instead of putting the things this way, right, I'm going to put them up and down so I can make sure that ruffle does exactly what I need it to do on both of those, on the inside and the outside, so it can appear as though it's the same length, right? So it appears as though it is the same length. I'm actually going to get a little bit of coverage there to overlap, but so now I don't even have to worry about putting my bow there. It looks the exact same. It's fine. Okay? Totally fine. Now, favorite ribbon goes on the top. Also, I'm going to say I'm not going to mess with or touch the ribbons at all once I put them in there. I will at the very end. Okay, one nice and tight. One nice and tight. Remember I said we were adding the greenery. Ooh, sorry. We're adding the greenery. So one nice and tight. All right. And I do have it pushed up kind of there. Now, I'm going to add this right to the top. I'm going to do one so that I don't forget. I'm going to spread this apart first. I always do this whenever I'm adding greenery. I always forget, and then I cut the pipe cleaners off. So I'm trying to not do that. So I'm just going to add one. And you notice the stem is longer. Okay, there's like 3 inches there. Stem is longer. I put it in nice and tight. So I'm not worried about it falling out. I know it's, I know it's going to be just fine. I know it's not going to fall out. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit, tiny dab of glue. Okay? I know it's not going to fall out, but if you wanted to, you could do that. All right? I'm just going to add in all the ribbon now. Oh, I need one more piece of glue stick. I'm going to add in all the ribbon first and then go in and add, but this time when I add in the ribbon, I'm going to just put it in there and tie it, twist it one really good time. Put it all the way down in there, crisscross, tight, twist, tight, okay? And instead of going 7 or 8 times. And then once I have the greenery in there, then I'll go and add in and twist it all the way up. So just a little bit different. Now I did put some sparkle in the bow because I have the sparkle in the mesh. Oopsie, I was going to do that again. And so I went with no sparkle in the ribbon tails and sparkle in the mesh, sparkle in the bow. Just a little different. But the sign itself is a watercolor sign. So it has like drippies, and it looks, at first you're like, oh, this sign is messed up. And it's not. It's the way it's supposed to be. It's a watercolor sign. It's so cute. I've done so many, not only have I done so many kits, but I've sold so many wreaths with that particular sign. So I just keep doing, not Valentine's Day. St. Patrick's Day is just like Valentine's, so quick and small, right? So quick and small. So, but some people are, really decorate for St. Patrick's Day. They do the parade. At least in Detroit, we have a parade. We have a whole thing, a whole running, with the whole thing. It's a big deal here. I can't think of the town. I can't think of the Corktown? Yeah, Corktown. Another good thing is, the mesh catches on everything, and sometimes when it's your clothes, it's very annoying. But when it catches on the ribbon, and it helps keep it in place, that's like good. Okay, pulling those apart. Again, if you've gotten this far, I hope that you were able to consume that video for the cutting instructions. It's going to help make the small things sometimes make big differences. So, make sure you've watched that. Even if it wasn't Easter, it was for an Easter wreath. It was for an Easter kit, actually. But, same instructions go for most, not all, most of our kits. The biggest difference would be if you purchased a kit and it was a triple kit. Those have their own instructions. Okay, those have their own instructions. Okay, so we're going to take our, these. Add them right into the top. Okay. Add them right in, just a little clover there. Super duper cute with a little bit of the kind of like baby's breath, of course, the clovers. I'm going to add them right to the top. Nice and super duper tight. Twisting that 7 or 8 times. And you know what? I actually just kind of sometimes wrap it right around. It's going to end up underneath the sign, that wrapping there when I wrap it. So that's it. I just think it was the clovers for me. Just so cute. Just a little bit of greenery. Really cute. Now, this is the 100% easiest way to add florals into your pancake frames, into your pancake wreaths, really. Easiest way. Easiest way. You don't have to, plan as far as space, and if that's all done for you, just add it right in. Easy breezy. It's also, when you're working on just the top layer, it's also the most affordable because you're not buying 2 of these. And so many times when I add in something special to the pancake frame, I am only adding it into the top. This design, not only for yourself but for your customer, it's supposed to be a more budget friendly also all around. And so I didn't want to add, or when I am adding, I don't want to add several bunches, florals, and adding in that cost, right? So I only do one, but because I'm only doing one layer, it goes on the top. If you put it underneath, it's going to get lost. I think this one I did. Can't see over there. Oh yeah, okay. All right, so easy breezy. Again, I'm not touching those ribbons until the very end. We have our sign. Now, at this point, our sign could go right in the center and hide almost, well, it could hide all of them, actually. Let me zoom you out here. It could hide all of them. Okay, it could. But of course we need to add a bow. And now you see, just because that one piece, that one last piece of mesh, don't put it on the bottom. On the bottom you would notice. Make sure it goes on the top. You need those pieces on the bottom to be 20 inches for sure. Make sure you put whatever, if you have a piece that's short, make sure it goes on the top, okay? Now, I could leave it and just like this and add a little bow, be so cute. We're gonna shift it a little bit. I want my bow well, yeah, I want my bow to kind of go right here. Okay, so I'm gonna set that there just for a second while we, it's not ready to go, but just while we get our prep. And then this, we did have one piece extra. So if I wanted to, because, you know, I sometimes get a little, you know, crafty. So if I wanted to, you know, remember the sign extender from the bundle? I would take this off. I would take these off individually and glue, create the bow, and glue this into the bow for the sign extender. So I'll keep that with my piece. All right, super cute on the bow ribbon choices. Love all of these. Again, bringing in that glitter in with the adorable, just super duper cute. Okay, we're taking our 7-inch tail, 6-inch loop. 7-inch tail, 6-inch loop. And I'm gonna pinch. Okay, take those kind of apart, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, and twist that last piece. Okay, so you want to have all those the pretty side facing up towards you. And then I'm just going to slide it in. Y'all, I have carpal tunnel pretty bad. So after I hold that ribbon for just even that long, I have so much trouble with my hands. So I gotta set it down after I have it going on. All right, next we're gonna go with our the gingham plaid. Now it is folded, like you see here, but it's wired ribbon. So all I gotta do, boom. Okay, do that all the pieces. Okay, 2 seconds. All right, I'm gonna just cut this bottom and then measure here just so I can see, and then everything gets a little bit smaller. So you want to know the measurement for that first layer, 7 inches on the tail, 6 inches on the loop, and then from there everything just gets a little smaller. Okay, now remember, you only have a certain amount of ribbon here for your kit, so you want to follow this exact recipe so you can make sure you have enough. Okay, for this bow, you know, we have 2 loops on one side, 1 loop on the other, and 2 tails. So these 2 tails, we want to go opposite of the last 2. We want them to go opposite. Okay, and then of course we're going to make sure we cut off our dovetail our end, make sure that's about the same. So I went with, you know, I still wanted to bring in the black and white into the bow, I still wanted to bring that in, but I didn't want to have the same ribbon, right? And I felt polka dots in this case would be maybe a little too whimsy, even though we do have the glitter coming in here. But I think I went with a good choice with the plaid. I really like that. And so our last layer has a small loop on the top, 2 or 3 inches. This one's about 3 inches, and I'm going to pinch. Does not count as my loop count, so I still need 3 loops. Pull that apart, twist, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, and my last. Okay, so we have a perfect amount left. 2 loops here, go on the opposite side. Perfect, just like that. Now again, this little guy just twisted at that. I don't know if I didn't twist it or what, but can't let that get in there and not be layered or not be twisted. Because once we put our pipe cleaner on it, it's going to be even a little harder to make sure we get it the way we want it to. Okay, from here I'm just going to lift this up, right straight up. Nice and tight. Make sure it stays stacked. Take my pipe cleaner. Now, when it's just me, I will use a zip tie. A zip tie doesn't come with your kit, but when it's just me, I'll use a zip tie. So to help me, so I can make sure it gets nice and tight, you know, to help my hands and stuff. So just know if you see me doing that on our lives or whatever, it is, it's because of my fingers, my hands. Okay, then to fluff, super easy. We're just gonna make sure we pull our. I'm gonna hold it just like this. I'm gonna pull that center loop straight up so I can hold it, kind of wiggle it back and forth, because now you can't see our pipe cleaner, right? I'm going to pull those pieces apart up on the side and make sure that I can see every layer, okay? So I'm going to pull those black and white pieces side to side so I can see the shamrocks, black and white, shamrocks, black and white, shamrocks. I'm going to make this go here this way. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. Bringing those black and whites to the side. Perfect. You're the boss of your ribbon. Make it do what you want it to do, okay? Now, I will agree. I just made a pretty wide bow there. I didn't need that. I didn't need it to be that wide. This is the longest part of my tails. Okay, I'm sorry, the longest part of my bow and that first layer of tails. So I want to make sure that comes off the wreath coming this way. Okay. All right, it is a little big, but it's fine. Okay, we're going to have 2 more pipe cleaners left in our kit. So, again, I showed you this in the instructional video. I personally use a little bit of DAP Rapid glue, peeled off the back of those, added the DAP Rapid, and then use the clamp to hold those on. Okay, so nice and tight. I am going to, since our bow is so big, I'm going to try to put that up just a little bit. No, I want that to be right there. I want that to be right there. Okay, try that. So that our bow can go right here and still cover our pipe cleaners here and here, but not, you'll see, it'll be perfect. I just gotta make sure I get them right where we are. Okay, because I do want to make sure this one, this one, this one, and this one are covered, right? And stick that corner right in there. Perfect. All right, going right down. You want to make sure now that we have this kind of perfectly spaced and perfectly in place. I know I just shifted that. But we want to make sure that stays where we want it so it covers what we want it to. Right? We don't want it to end up... There we go. Okay, I'm going to hold that and flip it. And I'm going to use that notch right there as to my advantage, just to kind of hold that. What I could have also done was I could have brought my pipe cleaner in through that hole there. So they're there for to just help you, guide you for your sign or for a bow. So I got one side in, and I want to make sure I'm covering up this one. That's important also. That one's good, that one's good, the other ones are good. Okay, I'm going to make sure I keep that one covered. Just going to pull it over just a little bit. Make sure it goes in just like that. Y'all, I hope that you're enjoying this video. If you bought this as a kit, I hope that you enjoyed the kit. I hope this inspired you to put a little bit of greenery into your pancake wreaths. Now, again, as you add in more, I wasn't saying that you can't add in more greenery. You can. You just want to make sure that budget and the price and the cost matches the overall design. If you are looking for or have trouble with or need help guiding you with guiding with pricing, we do have a class for that as well. If you go to learnfrommelissa.com, learnfrommelissa.com, there we go. You will, there we go, learnfrommelissa.com, you will find a very informational list of links that can help you, and that pricing class is on there. So again, here's where I use that hole that I was just mentioning just because I didn't want to pull it around that hole, the entire frame. Kind of worked out good. And then always make sure you hide that so that it doesn't scratch the back of the doors or whatever. All right, let me just make sure that it's good. Okay, so we covered what we needed it to. We did shift it a little bit. Here we go. We need our bow to go right where we need it to go. Okay. Again, I'll make sure all those ribbons are cutesy on the end in the end. All right. Go in here, right here. Right there. I'm going to make sure that the center of my bow is right there. What's underneath right there? All right, I think I'm going to use the twist tie from underneath. I think I'm going to try to be really sneaky here. I'm trying to be really sneaky and put, come on, pipe cleaner. You have to do what you have to do in order for me to do what I want to do. Okay. So I used that outside twist tie. I used the hole from that to put my pipe cleaner through because I wanted that center to be in a very specific spot. Look at that. It's perfect. All right. It's not in place just yet. There we go. That will definitely keep it where I want it, that's for sure. Now, I'll flip it so you can see. See, I used that hole so that the center of that bow would be right here instead of over here. And that made a big difference, okay? So I wanted it right there, and that's where it ended up. Perfect. All right. So, let's see where we're at. Got the longest part of my There we go. The longest part of my tail's coming off the side here. Okay with that. Good. Darling, those are a little bit long. I'm just going to cut those a little bit. This one too. Now, I can still see Lucky. I can still see my whole clover. I can see the little watermark or the little watercolor. Obviously, I can see the spring. Perfect. The one thing I am specifically going to do for this design is I am going to lift this up. Take a little piece or dab of glue and make sure that that loop isn't going to go anywhere. Because if it moves, I'll be able to see that under the twist tie there. And that's not attractive. I don't want to see that. So I just added some glue there. I'm just going to hold it while it dries. Y'all, if you haven't already, make sure you're following us on all of our social medias. We do lots of fun stuff throughout all of everywhere. Something different. Lots of instructional videos, of course, on YouTube. We hang out usually and go live on Facebook. We have an email list for you to get first notifications on kits. We have a text message list where you can join us there and text me at any time, really, and ask me questions. I do respond. Sometimes it takes a little bit for me to respond, but I do respond. But if you ever had any specific questions you needed from us, you can always send us a message there. Also, this is the last thing I do. Always make sure I'm pulling out. Ooh, get something in my throat. Hold on. Woo. I always make sure I go around at the end, touching them at the very end, making sure my tails are in the right spot. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're out. You see I'm kind of curling them like up almost to kind of help them to stop curling on there. Although I did turn this baby upside down a couple times, so that didn't help my soul situation there. Make sure none of that is tucked underneath there. Get all those out. I hope that I have inspired you in some way today, either to make your own first wreath or to start selling your designs, or, to make your own home beautiful, whatever it is. I've hoped I've planted a seed that is for the good. And this little guy can't sneak under there. You got to come out here, baby, just a little bit at least. There we go. Super duper cute. Y'all. Oh, I was going to say, if you want to go to Learn from Melissa, you can find so many things there. Not only can you join our email list or also find our text message phone number, you can find everything. You can find the lists of some free tutorials. You can find all of our social media platforms. You can find a list of our favorite suppliers, our favorite tools, so many things. So I hope that you join that out. If you go to learnfrommelissa.com, it will ask you for your email address. And then on the next screen, there'll be a link for you to click. And then it'll give you this whole huge thing. And then just save that link. Save that website to your browser, and then you'll always have it to reference back. You can find information on our creative coaching group, on the business coaching group. You can find exactly where to get our wreath kits. There's a button there, our Etsy shop, all the things. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope to see you again soon. Oh, one last thing. Look at how thin it is. Look at how thin we are. Nice and thin to fit between doors, but then also super duper cute at about 23, 24 inches right here. We're at 24 inches right here, 24 inches wide. So beautiful statement for your door. And then I love that you get to see bits and pieces and kind of pockets of that mesh poking through on the top, and then of course all around the outside. Okay, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again super duper soon. Bye y'all.